What's going on YouTube? It's Ganimo. So today we're going to be discussing a topic that is so overlooked in the healthcare world. A topic that not many healthcare professionals know about, and that is long-term disability insurance.
So let's try to paint you a picture in honor of Bob Ross. So try to close your eyes for a second and try to imagine this, unless you're driving, of course. So you just started your day, you're on your happy way, you're strolling those hallways, whether in the office or in the hospital. You see all your colleagues, all the nurses, all your staff. Boom! You trip. And guess what?
What?
You broke your arm.
Ah!
Or your leg.
Eh.
And you can't get to the hospital or you cannot perform procedures. What do you do next? Well, you're going to be out of income. And you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your bills. And you need a substitute. So instead, you better have some disability insurance to carry you through this time period.
So early in your healthcare career, it's time to get serious about your finances. You may still be on that ramen diet, eating microwavable soup out of a can that you bought for 84 cents. But in a couple years, you'll be making the big boy bucks. So you got to get serious now. Now, there are many steps you can take to set yourself up for financial success. But one of the best things you could do early on in your career is purchase long-term disability insurance. You want to purchase a high-quality, specialty-specific, own occupation individual disability insurance policy. Say that 10 times fast.
Believe me when I tell you this, you are a commodity. You are an asset. You are the number one asset here to yourself. And why is that important? Because you have spent countless hours studying and dealing with BS throughout your medical education to get to this point in your life where you're going to be earning a real income. As such, you definitely have to protect that income from any potential emergency that may arise. And you'll be a fool to actually think that no emergencies will come up throughout your medical education or throughout your career, because it is a real possibility. How many accidents do you see on the road every day? How many people you know that actually get hurt every day? Now, we don't think that it's going to happen to us, but we always want to protect ourselves from the eventuality or the possibility of this actually happening. And that's why it's called insurance. You're insuring yourself against a potential disaster. Now, the time to purchase insurance is not after you get hurt, but in anticipation of that emergency. And God willing, if and when you become financially free, you can always decide to drop that disability insurance. Now, a good disability policy is intended to replace between 40 and 60% of your actual income. And yes, you're not making much money as a resident, but it's still active income. And God forbid if something happens, you still want to know that you're able to replace that income. But the idea is starting that step now, so whenever you're making 4 to 5 times as much, you have the appropriate coverage for that time, and you know what steps you have to take for that time period.
So how do you go about getting disability insurance? Well, for starters, look at your place of employment. Hospitals usually offer a low rate disability insurance, but remember, once you graduate or leave that hospital, they don't cover you anymore. So what can you do while you're covered through that hospital? Well, you could go shopping. Shop around for other rates.
So how much do these policies cost? Well, according to the White Coat Investor, you should be paying approximately 2 to 5% of your annual income, and that should give you coverage of approximately $5,000 a month for a total of $60,000 for that year. And that should be sufficient if you're just starting your career. Now, generally speaking, male physicians should be looking to pay approximately 1 to 3% of their annual income. However, female physicians typically have to pay approximately 3 to 5% of their annual income, only because they are typically associated with more risk, especially during their childbearing years.
Now, when shopping around for disability insurance, it's important to use an independent carrier, one that can sell you a policy from many different companies, and we'll list some of the companies in the description below. And always remember, ask for discounts. It's important to save money where you can. But instead of using these big companies that are going to try to hustle you because they know you're a healthcare provider making the big buck.
Now try to find discounts when you can. And one great place to find those discounts is a multi-life discount policy. And that utilizes the strength in numbers, which means that if you have 1, 2, 3 or more colleagues, you're able to ask for a group discount and get a cheaper rate for the collective group overall. And the best advantage of this is that if you are a female, like we mentioned earlier, you have to pay a premium. You actually are able to get a unisex policy, which allows you to have a cheaper rate. Now, one of the biggest deterrent of a disability policy is that they particularly make it hard to get the payout of that disability policy. That's why you want to make sure the person who's underwriting that policy And you, as the shopper, know what you're shopping for and what you're asking for before you get that policy. And one of those coverages is making sure you get a specialty specific policy. And that means if you, God forbid, get disabled, they're not going to make you go practice outside of the scope of your specialty.
And you want to make sure your policy includes the future purchase option, which basically means later on in the date, you can increase your coverage alongside your premiums without undergoing another medical exam once you're making the big boy bucks.
And you also want to make sure that your policy includes a residual disability ride, which means that it will pay you even if you are partially disabled. So let's say you broke your arm, but you didn't break it quite that much. You want to make sure that they pay you when that happens.
And you want to make sure it includes an inflation protection or a COLA rider, which basically allows your potential benefit to grow alongside inflation. So money making money. And this is generally important if you purchase a long-term disability insurance in your early 20s and want to pay out in your 60s.
And keep in mind that all these different policies and all these different clauses come at a cost. But you have to make sure that you are shopping for what exactly you need. And the things that you don't need, just eliminate them off of that policy. And keep in mind that some states are more expensive than others. Florida and California, unfortunately, are some of the highest states, and that's where we live.
Fantastic. Now, regarding those policies we just mentioned, it behooves you to purchase these policies early on in your career. And why is that? Because you have age and health on your side. The longer you wait, the more expensive these premiums get. And as a matter of fact, according to the Social Security Administration, you have a 1 in 4 chance of filing a claim from the age of 20 years old until retirement. And that claim can last up to 1 year.
Now, we discussed it in previous videos, and we're going to say this again today. You always need that emergency fund. That will be your backbone, regardless of a disability policy or not. Because most disability policies will take a while to get processed. It might take 1 to 3 months before you're even able to apply for the disability policy. But that's where the disability insurance fits into the equation. You don't want to wipe out what you worked so hard to build. The emergency fund is hopefully going to carry you through another emergency in the future. As such, that disability policy will kick in if you do have it to cover you moving forward.
You do not want to wait. All that hard work and stress you put in, you do not want it to fall at the wayside. Hopefully this video provided you with that impetus to go out and purchase that long-term disability insurance. And if so, don't forget to gingerly tap that like button and leave a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.